And that was just a snapshot of the signs. We couldn't fit all of the signs that there were that have been played out in front of a jury in another case, the case against the mother of the school shooter. But now we're looking at the case of the father. In Los Angeles, joining us now, board-certified forensic psychiatrist and trial expert, witness, and columnist, Dr. Carol Lieberman is joining us. Dr. Lieberman, it's good to see you. I want to ask you about these signs, these mental health issues that the state is saying these parents should not have missed. In your practice, your expertise with mental health, how often do you see parents missing signs? Is it consistent? And if so, what's the leading reason for them missing those signs?
Well, parents do often miss signs, but this isn't a matter of missing signs. He's putting it out there. He's telling them, I want to see a doctor. He's telling them about seeing these voices and thinking people are in the house. And, these are really obvious signs. I mean, so typically when parents miss signs, it's like maybe they don't realize how depressed their child is. But when this is way beyond that, I mean, all he needed to do more, the only other thing that he could do was to have a skywriter write what his please get me help in the sky. He was really making it obvious, which is why this is so tragic, which is why these parents are on trial. It really it wasn't something that you could miss. And it's just, it's especially with school shooters, and especially teenage boys. They don't usually make it this obvious. They're embarrassed. They're afraid. They want to seem like a man. And this is why it's even more striking that it would be from him.
Dr. Lieberman, can you talk about James and perhaps what he was dealing with mentally? We know he was out of work, seemed to be going through some things of his own. His wife, we learned in the trial, was having an affair that he may or may not have known about. But she's not texting her son back for days after he's reaching out. And I saw a text message that was brought out in evidence where Jennifer tells her husband, hey, deal with this, go to your son. And he says, dude, chill, he's fine. Is there any mitigation based on what you've seen from James Crumbley and perhaps what he was going through himself?
Well, the mother is treating Ethan like a dog. I mean, she's telling her husband to take care of him, like take the dog out kind of thing. It's really horrendous. And yes, I think the father, James, was going through all these things that you just mentioned. But you know what I think is interesting that we're seeing so far in the trial? He's crying. James is crying. And we know that he contacted the father of Ethan's best friend to try to find out why the best friend isn't writing back, isn't texting back to Ethan and all that. I think that James is a much more sensitive guy and that Ethan would have felt more comfortable closer to James, which of course, is good and bad for James. But I think that yes, he was texting his mother about the demons and all of that, but she wasn't doing anything. And his father worked at home at first before he was fired, lost his job. And so I think that he would have been closer to his father, felt less intimidated by his father. But yeah, it was, the father was just dealing with too much. I mean, he did still try to help in some ways, but it was just too much. And especially with the mother not really doing anything, leaving it all to the father.
Any difference, Dr. Lieberman, just a follow-up, that you think the jury will see between the role of mother and father in this case?
Well, yes, usually, stereotypically, it's the mother who's supposed to be more taking care of the kids, right? And the father's working. But when fathers are at home, like being house moms or whatever, that changes. But I think the most important thing is the jury is seeing that the father is crying. And it's so different from the mother. And, whether he takes the stand or not, they see that he really is very upset about this, and he is taking responsibility to some extent. I mean, he is, devastated by it, where this is the opposite of the mother.
That is helpful information when watching all of this play out, especially how this trial may be different from the one that we just saw with Jennifer Crumbley. Dr. Carol Lieberman, thank you so much for lending your expertise for us. We do have to squeeze in a break.